Incorporating double stops into your guitar playing, I think it's essential to understand and learn. By using these, it'll get you that much closer to kind of sounding like some of your guitar heroes, whether that be Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan. And there's so many great guitarists out there that use them without even thinking about it, and Guthrie Trap included. What we're going to be doing today is going through all the cage shapes, and we're going to be adding quote-unquote licks to our lick library, a term that I got from Eric Haugen. Eric Haugen is a wonderful, amazing guitar teacher. I would recommend hitting him up on YouTube. Can't go wrong with that. But today we're going to be going through each one of these cage shapes, and I'll show you a couple double stops you could do in each, and we'll have fun with it. We are in standard tuning, so go ahead and grab your guitar and let's get at it. My name is Keith. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so welcome back. As always, all tabs, charts, and diagrams I show in this video or any video is available for free on my Patreon, and that is also a wonderful way to kind of help out the channel if you want to. Another great way to help out the channel is by hitting one of the Sweetwater affiliate links I have in the description. It goes through all the different gear that I have here. Anytime you click it, small commission goes my way after you make a purchase, so that's always encouraged. If anything, just hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's go ahead and get at the lesson. Alright, so what I'm going to be doing today is going through each one of the cage shapes and showing you a couple, double stops you could do within each of these shapes. Now, the point of this whole thing is to kind of maybe ingrain them in your head to kind of realize what you can do within each given shape and modify them if you want, but add them to your lick library, do with them as you will. The reason I use The Wind Cries Mary as kind of the intro here, it's just full with all different kinds of double stops. I mean, here's a G shape, right? Let's start off though with the C shape. All right, so here's a C-shaped F, right? It's worth noting that my guitar is kind of buzzy and all that. It's been getting hot, it's been getting cold, the weather's just wreaking havoc on this. So if you hear buzzing, we're just gonna work our way through it. But let's take this C-shaped F. What can we do with a C-shaped F if you're holding it like this, right? Now, if you remember in a previous video that I just did, right there. So this is an F, and what you could do with that C shape is basically a lot of this boils down to distilling down to the triad. So if I look at these middle three strings, that's the 7th fret of the D string, and then the 5th fret of the G, and then the 6th fret of the B string. You keep your index finger planted, and then you also keep your middle finger planted on that B string, and that allows you to use your middle finger to kind of accentuate. And do things like that, right? So that is one of the little licks you could do in that C shape. Let's move on to the A shape. Now, again, with the A shape, here's an A shape D, right? Now, if I distill this one down to the triad, what do we have there? That's the 7th fret of the G and the B strings and the 1st fret of the high E string. And if I even just take those top two strings, right off the bat, you have this double stop. You can slide that up right there. Then you could even just bar the top two strings and then resolve right there. So that's a cool little double stop that you could do in the A shape. All right, now let's move on to the G shape, right? From The Wind Cries Mary. Right there's a double stop. So we have this G shaped here. This right here would be an E flat, right? And the lower end of it, E flat, but we don't have to use all the notes in there. So what I like to do with the G shape, in particular for this song, you hammer on that A string. So these are double stops, right, in that G shape. Now the wonderful thing about the G shape, and I go on all the time about it, is that anytime you're in an A shape, let's say this D, you could always just slide up from that root. And then when you're in this shape, you're in that familiar pentatonic shape. are pretty much free to just keep this index finger planted and just mess around with your ring finger and make all those beautiful double stops. So that is what I like to do in that A shape going into that G shape. Let's move on to the E shape, which is pretty, you know, kind of cool, especially when you can do a bar chord like this with your thumb over the top. And what did Jimi do in The Wind Cries Mary? He's doing this little accentuating. So if you're able to hold and bar everything with your index finger on the top 3 strings and your thumb, really all you need is on the low E string. And then you kind of get some semblance of the shape of that E shape. We're playing everything in that E shape except for this A string. Right there, you know, that's a double stop. That's from Little Wing, right? And he uses that same thing for Wind Cries Mary. So it's always cool if you could do some accentuations like that with your pinky, and if you do that whole wraparound technique. Finally, we have the D shape, right? So let's look at this. Let's pick a D right here. So we have an E, F, G. Now this one could be a little tricky, right? But it's not really. Let's just imagine. Here's the D major scale. Here is the D shape major scale for this key of G, right? Is a G. Right? But you don't forget, you also have 5, 6, 7 leading up to that root. Right? So right now I know that these double stops could work because they stay within the key of G. And then if you look here, we already have this shape here, part of that D, the D shape. You could just slide these two up, right? Just a little food for thought, something to chew on. But those are just a very, very, very minimum of what you can do as far as double stops for each of these cage shapes. So I would encourage you to just mess around with everything and listen to a lot of Jimi Hendrix, especially some of his softer songs like Little Wing and The Wind Cries Mary, Bold as Love, anything where he is not crazy with the distortion and whatnot, and hear all those little embellishments, all those double stops. And the key to his playing is a lot of this wrapping the thumb around. You can get such beautiful sounds with that. So I hope this lesson was helpful, and if it was, please like and subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I hope you have a good day. Talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.